A variable must be declared before it is used in the program. I'm going to assign the value. To assign the value, which operator I'm going to use here? That is nothing but equal symbol. Suppose if I want to input any value from the keyboard, then I can able to use read line. Hello to all, a warm welcome to my new session on constants, variables and data type. I am Revati, faculty from the Department of Computer Science, Vidhyaashram First Grade College, Temple of Excellence, MYSURU. So dear student, before going to start my today's session, let me to recall the topic what I have covered in my last session. So dear student, in my last session, I started with constants. Dear student, there are certain time I want to use some fixed value. For example, say I want to define 5 equal to 3.1412 and I want to use this pi value same throughout the program. In that situation, I'm going to declare that variable as constant. So constant in the sense it is fixed value. Now, variable. So, what is variable? As the name itself suggests that the value can be vary according to the user needs. So, here variables are mainly used to represent where the data is stored. And I have discussed data types. So, what is data type? What is the need of data type? Here, I require data type to identify particular kind of data. There are certain type of data types. In that, we discussed primitive data types. That is nothing but integer, float, character, double, string, etc. So, dear student, these are the certain topic I have covered in my last session. But in my today's session, I am going to deal with declaration of variable. That means how can I declare a variable? Along with that, how can I assign the value? Along with that, assignment statement and read statement. These are the 4 topics I am going to deal in my today's session. Now, dear student, let's begin our session with the topic declaration of variables. So, what is variable? Let me to consider the example here. Think that I am going to write int a equal to 10. So, what is variable here? That is nothing but the a. And if I write int a equal to 10, then the memory is allocated for this variable a and the data is stored in that particular area. Now, if I want to access the value which is stored in this area with the help of variable name, I can able to access. Along with that, with the help of memory address, I can able to access the value which is stored in the memory. So, what is variable here? It's nothing but the storage allocation for particular variable. Now, if I consider how can I declare a variable? When I declare a variable, it tells the compiler about the variable name. And if I consider this example, which is my variable name, that is nothing but the a. And it specifies what kind of variable, or it specifies what kind of data the variable will hold. And if I consider this example, what kind of data the variable will hold, that is integer. Now, the place of declaration decides the scope of the variables. That means where I am going to define, that matters. That means if I define the variable within the block or inside the method. So the scope of the variable is very, very important, and the place where I am going to declare the variable, that is going to decide the scope of the variable. And the another very, very important thing here, that a variable must be declared before it is used in the program. That means I want to declare the variable before I am going to use the variable. A variable can be used to store a value of any data type. So what is variable here? What is the need of variable? It's mainly used to store the value, and any kind of data item value or data type value I can able to store by using variables. So what are the things I want to remember here? That is, it tells the compiler about the variable name. Along with that, it specifies what kind of data. Along with that, it specifies the scope of the variable, and the variable must be declared before it's going to used in the program, and a variable can use to store any kind of data types. Now I'm going to have declaration of variable. So what is declaration of variable? Think that I want to declare some variable, and how I'm going to declare the variable. Here is the procedure to declare the variable. So first what I want to do, I want to specify the data type. So it is data type, then I'm going to have variable 1, variable 2, up to so on. So the general form of variable is, first I want to define the type of data. That means which type of data I'm going to use. Along with that, I want to specify the valid variable name. So what is variable name here? There's nothing but the identifier used to identify the particular variable. Variables are separated by the comma. That means in one single statement or in one single line, I can able to declare more than one variable of same data type. Now, to separate variable name, I am going to use the operator called comma. A declaration statement must be end with the semicolon. In order to indicate that this is the end of the statement, what I am going to do, I am going to place the semicolon at the end of the line. So dear student, let me to consider the example here. Now tell me what is integer here? That's nothing but the data type. And what about count? Here count is nothing but the variable name. And what about float? That's nothing but the another data type, and x and y are the variable of type float. Now, dear student, if I write same example in my program, then I'm going to get the error, because in one single statement I cannot able to club two different data types. So if I write this line, then I'm going to get the error message. Now let me to rewrite this example once again. That is int, then count. So to indicate this is the end of the line, what I want to do, I want to place the semicolon at the end. Now see, float is another data type. So in the next line, I'll write float x, comma y, and I'll place semicolon at the end. So this is the way I can able to write variables in my program. This is nothing but the variable declaration. Now I'm going to have giving values to variable. That means how I'm going to provide the values to the variables. So dear student, if I consider Java programming, then I can able to assign the values to the variables in two ways. That is, one is by using assignment statement and another one is by using read statement. So dear student, if I consider Java program, I can able to input the value or data values in two ways. That is, one by using assignment statement, another one is by using read statement. Now, at the beginning, I'm going to have assignment statement. So, what is assignment statement? As the name itself indicates that I'm going to assign the value. So, what I'm going to do? I'm going to assign the value. To assign the value, which operator I'm going to use here? That is nothing but equal symbol. Now, let me to write the syntax here. So, first what I have? I can able to have variable name and I'm going to assign the value. So this is also valid one, or directly I can able to write int a equal to 100. So this is also the correct one. So example, I have initial value that is 0 and final value it is 100. Now another method, with the data type, directly I can write initial value equal to 0 and int final value equal to 100. So both are same. That means if I am going to use this method, then I want to define at the beginning itself int initial value, comma, final value. So here what I am doing, I am going to use the variable declaration along with the assignment. That means at the same time, I am going to declare the variable. At the same time, I am going to assign the value. So, both are valid one. Now, I am going to have the another way, that is by using read statement. So, dear student, if I go with the assignment statement, then this is the example for constant variable declaration. That means I'm going to fix the value, and whatever the value I'm going to assign, that remains constant throughout the program. So this is the best example for constant. But if I want to read the value randomly, then I can go with the statement called read statement. So dear student, Java supports read line method. Suppose if I want to input any value from the keyboard, then I can able to use read line. So what is the meaning of this method? It's mainly used to read the input. The read line method reads the input from the keyboard. Suppose if I want to read the input from the keyboard, which method I'm going to have here? That is read line. As a string. That means whatever the input I'm going to read, that is in the form of string, which is then converted. That means I want to convert that string into my data type. That means according to my requirement, I'm going to convert the string to my requirement. So, which is then converted to the corresponding data types using the data type wrapper class. So, this is the example. I'm going to have the method to read the statement, that is read line. And what kind of output it's going to return? It is of the type string. Now, there are certain time it throws an error. To handle the error, I'm going to have the exception called input-output exception. So, this is the way I can able to use read statements in my program. Now, what are the different kinds of methods or ways I'm going to have to read the input? So, reading input from the keyboard. So, dear student, the values are entered to the program in two ways. One is by assignment statement, another one is through reading input or through the keyboard. Now, reading input from keyboard. So, there are several ways to read the input. In that, at the beginning, I am going to have system.console class. So, dear student, if I consider system.console, then I am going to have the methods like read line and write line. So, read line in the sense what? Reading the input. Write line in the sense what? Write the output. Then, I am going to have the scanner class. So, in this scanner class, we have certain method and it's mainly used to read the input and write the output. Anyway, dear student, I'm going to discuss what is read line, what is write line, what are the scanner class we are going to have to read and write, and what is buffered reader class, what is buffered writer class. All those things I'm going to explain in detail in my upcoming session. But at present, you just remember that to read the input from the keyboard, I'm going to have three ways. One is by using system.console, another one is by using scanner class, and another one is by using buffered reader. Now, I'm going to have the concept called scope of the variable. So, dear student, why I require scope of the variable? So, dear student, while writing the program, I have to follow the scope of the variable, and the Java variables are classified into three kinds. One is instant variable, class variable and local variable. Now, what is instance? Here, instance are nothing but the objects. And where I am going to create the object? Where I am going to create the object? In my main function. So, that kind of object creations itself called instance variable. Then, what is class variable? Whatever the variable I am going to create within the class, then the scope of the variables are throughout that class, and those kinds of variables are called class variable. So, let me to consider the example here. Class sum. Inside this, if I write int A, int B. Now, these A and B are the example for class variable. That means I can able to access these two variables within this class. Now, I am going to have the local variable. So, dear student, if I write the method inside this class, in that method, suppose if I use the variables, then it is called local variable. Even if I declare the variable in the main function and I can able to use those variables within that main function is also example for local variable. So what is local variable? That is local to that particular block or particular method or particular main function. So this is the scope of the variables. There are three types of variables: instance variable, class variable, as well as local variables. Now I'm going to have typecasting. So what is typecasting? That is nothing but type conversion. There are certain time I want to convert one data type to another. That can be done implicitly as well as explicitly. So there are some time a program, there appear situation where there is a need to store a value of one type to another. See here, think that I have the variable called m and it's of type integer. Now in my program I want to convert that integer to byte. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to convert that particular variable m to byte. This kind of conversion is called implicit conversion. That means manually I'm going to convert one data type to another. So in such case, user must cast the value to be stored by the proceedings it with the type name in a parenthesis. That means when I want to convert the one type of data into another type manually, in that time I'm going to write the type of the data within the parenthesis. The process of converting one data type to another is called casting. So here I have one type of data that is integer. Now manually I'm going to convert that integer to byte. It is known as typecasting. Now this is the syntax I'm going to have. So first I want to define the data type along with the variable name. Now I want to select which type I want to convert. That one I'm going to write within the parenthesis along with the variable. Now I'm going to have automatic conversion. So it is possible to assign a value of one type to another variable of a different type without a casting. That means system is responsible for converting one data type to another. That is known as explicit type conversion. So without manually converting one data type to another, this can be done by the compiler. That means automatically compiler is responsible for converting one data type to another. So it is possible to assign a value of one type to a variable of a different type without a cast. So it is possible to assign a value of one type to a variable of a different type without typecasting. Java does the conversion of the assigned value automatically. That means Java compiler is responsible for converting one data type to another automatically, and this is known as automatic conversion. So automatic type conversion is possible only if the destination type has enough precision to store the source code. That means the destination data type must be greater than the source data type. Then only we can able to perform automatic type conversion. For example, think that if I have int a and I have float b, now I can able to convert integer to float because the size of the integer is 2 byte and the size of the float is 4 byte. But vice versa is not possible. That means I cannot able to convert floating point to integer. That means I cannot able to convert float to integer. So the automatic type conversion is only possible if the destination type has enough precision to store the source code. That means the destination variable must have enough storage space to store the source code. This process of assigning a smaller type to larger. See, if I consider this example, integer is smaller data type and floating point holds larger data type. So, the process of converting smaller type to larger type is known as widening. The conversion of smaller type to larger type is called widening, and the promotion and that of assigning a larger type to smaller one is known as narrowing. That means when I am going to convert my smaller number to larger type, then it is called widening. And when I am going to convert my larger data type to smaller data type, then it is known as narrowing, or it's nothing but the compression. I'm going to compress the size of the data type. So this is nothing but the automatic conversion. Anyway, dear student, in my today's session, I started with how to declare a variable and what are the rule I need to follow and which are the two methods I can able to assign the values, that is by using assignment statement and by using read statement. In that, I have discussed how to use assignment statement and which are the different kinds of read statement I am going to have in my Java program. That is nothing but system.console and java.util.scanner class and buffered reader. Along with that, I have discussed scope of variables. That is nothing but instance variable, class variable as well as local variable. Along with that, I have discussed typecasting. That's nothing but the type conversion. One is by using explicit method and one is by using implicit method. So dear student, from the examination point of view, this topic is very important. You can able to expect 2-mark question under this topic, or you can able to expect 2 marks question from this topic. Now, in my next session, I am going to deal with arithmetic expression, relational operators, logical operators, assignment operators, increment and decrement operator, along with that conditional operator, bitwise operator and special operators. So dear student, in my next class, I am going to deal with the operators. Anyway, dear student, let's meet in the next session with the new topic called an operator. Until that, keep watching and keep learning. Thank you.